Colleagues, friends, dear delegates, it has been a long day. Very good evening to all of you. Um, the feedback I got that we had a wonderful day, what we call Drought Preparedness Day at COP14. When we talk about our convention, United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification, most people around the world always look at desertification and then they add land degradation. But the drought pillar, some of people are not able to connect. So we were very happy when our partners, FAO, WMO, Global Water Partnership, and many experts and delegates around present here, they agreed with UNCCD team to have one day exclusively discussion on Drought Preparedness Day. I'm talking to experts here, converts here, so I would not like to give figures and facts. You have been discussing it whole day here. But one thing is very clear. Drought affects almost all parts of the world, developed and developing countries. But yes, developing countries, especially dry lands, become very vulnerable to droughts and its impacts. As a native Indian, and of course I am from this city itself, growing in India, we have seen drought happening every part of the country now and then. And some parts of our country, the drought is happening almost every year. And it is very distressing to see sometimes farmers getting into debt, losing their livelihoods because of not their fault, because of droughts happening, recurring year after year. And this is what I felt, this one-day discussion focus on drought preparedness becomes very relevant. Because most part of the world we find drought is a natural phenomena happening for various reasons. Climate change has further enhanced it. But at the same time, most of the countries have more reactive approach. There's no proactive approach to face drought. When we have all data, we have all tools, we have all information to have forecasting, to understand, depending to some extent. Of course, it cannot be always, it can be fully right there, but that's where the challenge of meeting drought challenges becomes so relevant for all of us. I have been asked by my colleagues and our partners to give you a summary of what was discussed today. Although I was not present here physically, but of course in spirit I was there through my team here, and they provided me very good feedback what happened. And since this closing will be also part of our COP14 proceedings, so I feel it is my duty to at least highlight, flag some of the issues all of you discussed here. Very good suggestions made. Some solutions were also suggested. There were agreement on most of the issues, but yes, there are some issues, the gap areas in our understanding and moving forward as a global community. That is also very clear. It was a day to present and discuss success and challenges of current tools, methodologies, and policies supporting drought preparedness. Jointly organized by 4 partners, UNCCD, FAO, WMO, and of course, Global Water Partnership. I understand we all delivered as one. And that is very satisfying, you can say, experience for my team and myself when we say we delivered as one. Thank you so much for your efforts and for your contribution. We started in the morning with a very moving short film produced by UNCCD and partners titled The End of Famine. The call for action on drought was very clear in the movie. The high-level opening session also further reaffirmed the need to move from a reactive drought management approach to a proactive one, the need for employing indigenous knowledge, the local knowledge for drought preparedness, the role of innovative risk financing mechanisms, including insurance to unlock critical and timely financing opportunities to support more efficient responses to drought. Also, it was very clear right in the beginning of the day that drought was a major obstacle in achieving Sustainable Development Goal 15.3. If I here say that is something which becomes one of the clear obstacles to food security, water, stress, having around the world, ecosystem services. Drought is playing a very important role in that challenge. So the need to move faster in our fight against drought is the call of the day. Today, many of the presentations showcase the various interagency frameworks, including UNCCD Drought Initiative, as well as important partnerships and frameworks such as Global Framework on Water Scarcity in Agriculture, the Integrated Drought Management Program, and of course, work done by UN Water. Today, there was a very clear call from everyone that we must move from a reactive, crisis-driven to a proactive approach to drought management that focuses to reduce drought risk by putting 3 pillars of integrated drought management: drought monitoring and early warning, drought vulnerability and impact assessment, drought mitigation, preparedness, and of course response into practice. It's time to move from pledges or commitments or issues-based approach towards action on the ground. I'm very happy to note that we had a very good all-women panel. This is music to us, especially when we work in UN system and where we have more inclusive, gender-empowered approach. And whenever we have all-women panel, it also emphasizes the need to really look at things in more holistic way from so far as women empowerment is concerned. And this panel emphasized gender mainstreaming in all activities and policies on drought preparedness to increase our effectiveness. The Drought Day delivered a special call in the importance of gender-responsive drought impact mitigation measures, which are aligned with which will be aligned, let's put it this way, UNCCD Gender Action Plan. But I'm also sure whether it's FAO or WMO and others, all of have very strong gender framework, gender action plan their own, and it gets realigned for all UN system as a whole. Today's day highlighted examples and the role of integrated drought management and multi-stakeholder coordination required. And this is also like land agenda. Dealing with drought is also very fragmented agenda at different levels in every country. If I take example of India itself, there are many ministries are involved: agriculture, land resources, water, and then go into the state government, rural development, Panchayati Raj. You are talking about all livelihood, Rozgar Yojana, and you can say that when you go to the Panchayat level or the village level, it gets further filtered and fragmented. The challenge remains how we coordinate that among ourselves, and that is the key. Not only at the local level, but also at intergovernmental level, academia, government actors, civil society, and NGOs. And of course, like many colleagues present here, I have worked in many UN agencies, at least 3 of them in the last 20 years. And I can see that when we talk about coordination at the country level or at the local level, the challenge remains also within the UN system, how we coordinate effectively ourselves, not on knowledge sharing, not only finding solutions, but also how we have synergies for the funding also, so that we don't have overlap and duplication. Because at the end of the day, we are looking at impacts and results on the ground. I felt that today's day is also a celebration of our partnerships evolving to face drought as a global challenge. And here, I was very happy to see that there was very good discussion on private sector coming on board. There was strong discussion on civil society organizations, both as a resource institutions, but also at the grassroots level institutions. I won't say that we can find solutions today in one-day discussion or over a period of time, but I think it's a very good beginning in last 2 or 3 years when we are moving from reactive to proactive approach. We are talking about drought preparedness. Very few countries around the world have a very good framework in place to address drought. And surprisingly, many countries, bigger countries like US, where a president office has the power to enforce national emergency on the basis of drought happening. This is true some other countries, but in India, when the drought happens, The teams are sent to assess, and then it is declared that drought is there. So there's a lot of time lag by the time people get the aid. On the other hand, if we do have the information in advance that these are the water stress area based on WMO reports of national meteorological reports, that rains in these areas will be less than normal, I think so the state administration, the district administration, of course the national administration, and all international organizations and bilateral partners can be ready to help those districts in advance. And it is not only funding part. I feel it is more of a coordination part, mostly preparing the communities. I mean, what we call climate resilience, I think there's a very good word for drought resilience for these communities. We must start using, and that is where we should be moving. We also witnessed today the launch of Drought Toolbox and, of course, various joint publications of UN organizations. I think this was a wonderful news for me from the management point of view and UNCCD that all agencies are here, so many partners are here, so many experts are here. And together we made very concrete discussions on way forward. I hope the momentum generated today at COP14 at this whole day event will be maintained. In fact, it should be further accelerated. We're getting calls from everyone, our leaders, our national leaders, as well as from international agencies. It's time to move forward to bring convergence of all RIO conventions so that drought is also one of the cross-cutting themes between climate change and land agenda, but also linking with the biodiversity conservation where it happens. It has a very cross-cutting theme on livelihood options. And it is also a very important theme on desertification. It's a very important theme underlying the principle of providing livelihood opportunities for local communities where vulnerable sections like women and youth get affected most. And I'm sure there must have been some description about, or at least mention about migration happening within the countries, rural areas to the urban areas, and then countries to countries, and from region to region. And that is a very, you can say, global challenge happening, how these migrations can be coordinated so that it is a win-win situation for everyone. So with these words, once again, I would like to compliment everybody present in this room for really contributing to this Drought Preparedness Day discussions and deliberations. I would like to thank our partners, FAO, WMO, UN Water Partnership, and of course all experts, institutions present here who really contribute to that. And I think COP14 has been a watershed occasion for some of these occasions happening, and we'll move forward to now action on the ground. My colleagues and others, agencies will stand for your assistance, to provide you assistance and facilitate action on the ground, especially for parties attending COP14. Thank you once again for your attention and for your contribution. Have a great day, and I'm sure this day deliberations will provide very strong inputs for our COP14 proceedings. Thanks. I think, I'm sorry. Please have a seat. We had discussion. You have some real questions. I respect that. Two things. A, there's a reception hosted by India, by Ministry of Environment and Forest. I'll request all of you to move towards that. It will start at 6 o'clock. And perhaps some of this discussion we can have in more amicable environment, or a cup of tea or coffee or maybe a glass of beer. Let's join you, please. Thank you so much for your understanding.